Hi, friends. This is Wendy Harrop, and welcome to the Say Yes to Yourself podcast. On the Say Yes to Yourself podcast, you'll hear stories from women just like us who are adding the practice of saying yes in their daily lives in big and small ways, and as a result, are experiencing the truth that everybody wins when you say yes to yourself. Saying yes to yourself is a graceful unfolding, an intentional becoming of the very best version of you. It is my hope that in these conversations, we are able to find our truth and be inspired and empowered to live our very best lives. I'm so excited to go on this journey with you, and I look forward to finding a bit of our own story in each other's. Hello, friend. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm so happy that you're here. How are you doing? How are you feeling about this last week of February? I'm really excited. And in just a few weeks, my epic 2026 travel calendar kicks off. And I feel like in the next time I look up, it's going to be November. So as excited and thrilled as I am about that, I also have quite a few things on my to-do list that I am wanting to attend to because it's about to get global in here, which is so fun. And I know you know that I am hosting these beautiful, expansive, half-day Space to Dream workshops in all of these gorgeous cities that I am finding my cute self in this year. So if any of those cities have been calling you or this opportunity just makes your heart swell, please take a look at the calendar and get your name on the list as soon as possible, because this train's about to leave the station, my friend, and I want you to be on it. Okay, today's episode is special. It was intended to be a coffee chat, which I know I've told you about. These are unedited conversations with former podcast guests, but they're focused on something that that guest is launching or working on or has just finished. So they're closer to real time because this beautiful, fabulous podcast is so beautiful and fabulous. We have quite a few weeks between the time that I have the interview before it airs. And so Coffee Chats was giving me an opportunity for high vibe, beautiful, expansive conversations, but with no lag time between us being excited about the thing and then you hearing about the thing in as many minutes as it takes for me to upload that video to YouTube. So these have been really gorgeous conversations that I've loved. And I had one scheduled the other day with my friend Christine Santos because we are doing a masterclass next week on March 4th called Harness Your Morning. And it's for anyone who is wanting to implement a morning practice, a morning routine into their life. It has been, no joke, hands down, the one thing that I have implemented that has the greatest ROI of anything that I've done in the last 6 years. So I cannot recommend this practice highly enough. So we were doing a coffee chat, and as soon as we were done, thought, oh my gosh, I just want this to be the podcast today. So that's what happens when you're the queen of your world. You get to ask for what you want, and your lovely podcast production queen says, okay, we can do that. So here we have today this gorgeous conversation, this invitation for you with my friend Christine Santos. And it is really, besides an explanation of the power of the practice and what it's been for us, it's an invitation for you to join us for a workshop on Wednesday evening, March 4th, 5:30 Eastern. It will be a 2-hour masterclass. It's $49, and you are going to get everything you need in a beautiful package to implement this life-altering practice into your everyday. So the link is down in the show notes for you to register for that workshop. And I'll just tell you a little bit about Christine. I know you know her. She's been on the podcast before, but she is a podcast coach. She helps women who own companies, helping them take their podcast to the next level. And she also has a boutique podcast production company. She's focused on sharing the messages of exceptional women working to serve others in improving their physical and mental health. And she helps small businesses improve their authority in their space, increasing their reach and growing their businesses. So, this morning practice has been so influential in her life in how she is living out and fine tuning how she operates in the world. And we just want this for you too. So, please enjoy this really fun conversation with my friend, Christine Santos. Hello, beautiful Christine. Thank you so much for joining me for a coffee chat. I'm so happy you're here.
Hello, Wendy, beautiful Wendy. I love your hair, by the way. I meant to say
Thank
that.
you.
And I'm so happy to be here with our coffee and for you and we will talk about this, but it's kind of late in the day for us, really.
Super late. Super
Right?
late. Right. And I to that point, I am drinking lemon water, not coffee,
Good for
because it
you.
is too late in the day. Um,
Yes.
and because the reason of our conversation today and the reason of why it feels late in the day is we are both completely, wholeheartedly committed to our morning practice.
Yes, we are. And so much to say as even just thinking about this, because we had this scheduled.
Yeah.
Even just that was such an up level to the already existing practice. Thinking about again, bringing other people into this. It's just so exciting because you and I both know how powerful the morning practice is.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like on this super high today.
Right. It really has been completely transformational. And when people ask me if they haven't seen me for a while or they've been watching my trajectory and they say, "What's happening? And what did you do?" And it reminds me of I had this friend, this neighbor when I lived in California, and she traveled all the time. So she was like she managed hospitals. She used to be a trauma nurse and now she worked for an insurance company. And so she visited all these hospitals. So she traveled during the week and we didn't always see her very often. And it had been kind of a stretch of time. And when I saw her, she looked amazing. She probably lost 25 pounds. She just was glowing. Her skin looked great. Her body looked great. Her clothes looked great. She's just cool. Anyway, she's about 20 years older than me and just cool. And I asked her, it's like, "Oh my gosh, what did you do?" And she said, "Well, I gave up carbs and wine." And I was like, ugh, okay. Next, what did you do, lady, over here? Because I was like, that is not going to happen. I'm not interested in, like, I can now admire what's happening for you and know that that's not a hill I'm going to die on because that
Mhm.
would be a really dramatic death. And I say all of that to say, when people ask me, like, what's the number one thing that you've done that has transformed your life in these past few years? I say a morning practice. And then I say, I get up every day at 4:45 a.m. and I am committed to reading, journaling, meditation, movement and all of these beautiful things. And I'm in it drinking coffee for about 2 hours. I wake up Amelia at 7 and I feel like I have 2 days every day. And I see
Mhm.
their face, their eyes glaze over. at the numbers strewn together of 445, and they're like, next, what did you do over here?
Right. Exactly.
So I'm interested to know what your experience is when people are asking you and how you also began your morning practice.
So when people ask me, and I mention the same, that very early time, and I loved how you said, I feel like I have 2 days because you really do, you really
Hmm.
do, um, and people will immediately either say that's interesting, depending, like you said, depending on whom you're speaking to, or people will say, oh, I'm not a morning person, my mother wasn't a morning person, or that's just no, that's just not who I am. Great, right? And I always say, first of all, let's not all label ourselves. I'm not here to try to convince anybody that you need to do this. I am here to share the wealth. Like, this is
Hmm.
a magnificent practice. And if it doesn't feel right to you, like giving up carbs and wine, then that's okay too. That is completely okay. If it's something that's of interest to you, then yes, there are things that we can do to implement that. And I think so, I want to say it was almost 10 years ago. I don't know exactly when I really got, I've always been somebody who exercises in the morning. So I'll just say that.
Okay.
So I've always done movement in the morning. I'm a runner. That was my thing. I'm not going to call that my morning practice. My morning practice was, like I said, maybe about 10 years ago or so, give or take. And it was during my personal development journey. And I have a favorite person, it's Robin Sharma, and his morning practice. And so I am the person who, if I wanted to give up carbs and wine and this person said, look at me, and I'm like, yes, I'm on board. I'm going to give
Right.
up carbs and wine so I can be so excited and happy like you are. But in this case, it was Robin Sharma who he's written a book on it. He has courses, all the things. So I was all for it, right? Because I'm
Yeah.
already that type of person. And so I just dove into it, and it has been such a game changer, of course, for every day, but also for your life. Because just like with anything, we have ebbs and flows, we have seasons. Even Robin Sharma, who is for me the person that I look to when I'm looking at this practice, he will even have seasons where he does not get up early. Everyone has different seasons. And all to say that it's always something I know I can come back to
Yeah.
in a time of need, even. Let's say that you haven't practiced the morning practice for some time, something's come up, whatever it might be, but it's always there. It's something that is, at this point, doing it for so long, is something that is really almost like a comforting practice. So
Mhm.
knowing it's there and like, okay, checking in and being like, oh, I haven't been maybe doing the whole thing, or maybe not even getting up early, and knowing that it's there and getting back to it just feels so, so good. So it's been years. And I will give all the credit to Robin Sharma, who I absolutely love in so many different ways, but definitely in regards to the morning practice. So I studied under him, and then I loved it so much, I brought it to various communities and started teaching it.
It's so amazing. And I know we were working together at the time that I started this practice. And it's interesting because as I was listening to your story, I was reminded of how I stumbled into it. I was completely called by the divine to this time, but it happened in a way that um that I didn't realize it was happening. So
Mm.
I grew up in church and I grew up hearing all the time about the importance of a devotional time, a quiet time with God. My parents both were very committed to their practice, and they would get up early and read the Bible and journal. And I would try, and it would last, whatever, 2 days. And then like it wasn't working for me, that structure or whatever, the timing, it wasn't right for me. But I remembered, because you were working on your beautiful program, Harness Your Mornings, and this was like 5 years ago. And a lot of people were talking about this, and I was so new to personal development, maybe a year into it, and just thinking, I'm already like this fire hose of fabulous information. I can't get enough. I can't imagine also being able to have this time. And a mutual friend of ours, KB, asked the brilliant question, well, if you could, what do you think that would look like? Because so often we're so stuck and caught up in the reasons why we can't have something, that those excuses just can't fall out of our mouth easily. And when she asked me that, I rattled off a whole series of events that would happen that would be completely unlikely. Like I would wake up without waking up anybody else. And at the time, I was married and we had a family bed with my young daughter. And I had two golden retrievers. So, like, in this scenario that she invited me into, I was like, well, I get up and nobody wakes up, and I make coffee and no dogs start barking. And then we have a library in our house, and I would go and sit in the library and I would journal and I would read, and it would be so magical. And yay, wouldn't that be amazing? And that's never going to happen. So, next, like, okay, tell me what's going on with your day. And no joke, the next morning, I woke up. It was still dark out, no alarm. I just woke up and I felt rested. I looked at my watch. It was 4:45 and I was like, huh, okay, I'm gonna try it. So I got out of bed and brushed my teeth and nobody woke up. And I went downstairs and made coffee and no dogs woke up. And I went to the library and I was like, okay, I don't even know what to read, because since we had lived in this house, moving from California to Massachusetts, it just has a lot of chores and it takes all day long every day. So there was no sitting around and reading a book. So since we had purchased the house, this might have been like 8 years or something, the only books I had read were The Story's Guide to Raising Chickens and International Toddler Adoption. Those were the only two books I read. So I'm now in the library, I've got my cup of coffee. It's about 10 after 5 now, and I have no idea where to start. So I just grab a really beautiful book called Moments with the Savior by Ken
Mm.
Geyer. It's a really touching book to me. And I started reading that. And then I thought this was pretty great. All of a sudden, like, I got through all my stuff. I did my chicken chores. I came back in. It was time to wake Amelia up for school. It's like, whoa, this is amazing. And I had just gotten a Fitbit and it had a silent alarm on it. So it's like, oh, well, apparently this is what I do now. So I just scheduled it for 4:45, and like that's how it got to be that time. I didn't read a book that said, "Oh, the high peak hour is right here, and this is the sweet spot to get it." It's just how it happened. So when I say really feel like this was a divine invitation,
Mm.
and it felt like that from day one. But now, as I look back and see how that practice and intentional time prepared, sustained, and inspired me, to what is happening now and through all the things that have happened since then and now, it's just like, oh my God, when is it going to be 4:45 again? Because I am not missing it. Like this, it's so good. And it single-handedly is the thing that has transformed my life.
I love that. And I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
So, you talked about the dogs or the husband at the time, or, those things that can interrupt your practice, right? Because life happens.
Mhm.
And how did you handle when let's say the dogs got up or started barking or heard you or whatever, any kind of interruption, how would you handle that in that moment?
Um, I think I don't remember the dogs ever barking, like in all of the years, or it became a habit that they were sleeping in a darker room and even the kitchen light, it just didn't disrupt. I don't know. The divine was all over that too. One thing that did happen, and I remember it very distinctly, is after a few months of this and everyone in the house knew that this is what I was doing and this was my practice, and Amelia started waking up
Mhm.
and coming downstairs and coming to the library to be snuggly with mom,
Mm.
and it was so sweet. And I remembered, like, the first when I heard her coming down the stairs, I was like, no, 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 my time, my time, my time. It's like this immediate, like, lack and grabbiness came. And it did feel like, oh, this is really not the space for lack. So, how can I reframe that? These are all happening so quick, right?
Mm,
This
mm,
conscious parenting moment. And I invited her into the room and asked her if she was okay. And she's like, it's time for my morning routine, she said. I was like, oh, I love that for you. This is what I'm going to need. I need you to get a book or a sketch pad or something, because this is a really quiet time for mommy. It's super important. So I'm so excited to share it with you. These are the boundaries that I shared in.
mhm,
And she did it, and she came and she drew, and it like it maybe happened twice.
mm.
And I'm just glad that I was in the headspace to do it well,
Yeah.
which I wouldn't have been if I wasn't in that room doing that practice, I don't think anyway. But
Hmm.
the other thing, to answer your question of life happening, I travel extensively. I lead trips for culinary trips to France for women. And one of the particular trips in France are with my friend Jeff, who is a chef, who has a completely different sleep schedule than everyone, maybe a newborn. He has the sleep schedule of a newborn. And we eat dinner at midnight. So when we're eating dinner at midnight, I am not getting up at 4:45. So what I do is I keep my routine even if I'm not keeping my schedule.
Yeah.
So I still, when I get up, I do those same practices, but I don't hold
Mhm.
myself to the hour of the day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How about you? How did you navigate when life was getting in the way of your good plan?
So for me, and what I teach in the course is first is observation.
Mm.
And it's just like with anything. I don't know if you can remember a time when you're a younger person, a child, and maybe you're learning a new instrument or a dance or something. I can just remember these things. And you just want to be able to sit at the keyboard or pick up that guitar and play a song. And the teacher is like, okay, no, we're going to practice our finger movement, and you're like, oh God, I just want to
Right.
play the song,
Wax on, wax off.
right? And so in the program teaching folks to you're not jumping into a morning routine right away. What you're doing is you're just observing yourself. the evening, and the morning. What do you normally do? And writing that all down. And so that observation, and then finding time where you can carve out. So finding that time to carve out, but as you've done that, you've observed the kids getting up or the dog, whatever, the interruptions that could happen.
Right.
Like you did sort of inherently having boundaries, having a plan for whatever. It doesn't have to be like a solid, like writing down a checklist plan, but like your daughter came in and you're like, okay, that's great. Love to share this moment with you. And I've talked about that with people in the program who have shared it with their children. And this is how we share this time together. We sit and we read or whatever it
Yeah.
is for you, right? So having those things in place so that observation, knowing things that will come up. And it's interesting because for me, I was my own worst enemy,
Ooh.
meaning that I would leave things at night. So let's say you would never do this, Wendy. Let's say
I would
that,
say my personality is very set up for anything that is a routine.
yeah, you
So,
would never do this. So if I'm tired, I am not doing the dishes the night before. I'm going to bed with a messy kitchen, and in the morning, I'm getting up and I'm doing that, right? I'm doing the dishes because I was too tired the night before. So in the program, as I've mentioned, just acknowledging that, like, okay, I know I want to clean the dishes at night so I can get up and not have to face them. And sure, maybe I did that 70% of the time. And the times that I didn't, I would immediately, as we do when we try to start something new, go back to my old ways, which was, oh, there are dishes in the sink. I didn't do it. I got to go do those.
yeah.
And that started eating into the time. It is actually a very good thing because you see the difference in your day. So let's say that you've been practicing even for a week, a short amount of time, and you feel the difference. You're like, wow, this is really great. And then you, as we all do, you slip back into your old routine. So then I slipped back into leaving the dishes and then doing them, and then I couldn't do my exercise or I couldn't do my journal, whatever it was. And later on in the day, I'd be like, gosh, I feel off, or you would notice something, and I'll be like, oh, because I
Uh-huh.
didn't do my whatever part of my morning routine. So then doing exactly like you said. So yeah, sometimes the dishes were still in the sink in the morning, but I was like, nope, not doing them now because this
Right.
is my time. And so it takes time, and I want to, really be honest and authentic about that. Like it's not like something that I feel that you can jump into and all of a sudden you're just this morning person
Right.
and it feels so great and then off and running.
Yeah.
Because yes, it does really feel good. It
Yeah.
really does. And you are off and running for a little bit, but then life happens or the dogs bark or whatever it might be. And so it's setting
Right.
those boundaries and acknowledging it. And then sometimes, you know what? Acknowledging that it didn't happen today and being okay with it and it starts the next. And I was just about to say it starts the next day, but I want to be really clear about something right up front. And I say this at the top of my program. The most important thing from Christine perspective is sleep,
Yeah.
getting your sleep.
Yep.
This program, this practice is not about burning the candle at both ends, getting
That's
to bed
correct.
late, Christine staying up and doing those dishes and still getting up early. And I always will say at the beginning of the program, if you get out of this whole program a better night's sleep, that's a win. That is a
Totally.
win. And you can move on from there to incorporating more of the morning practice. But by no means, please do not let this interfere with a good sleep habit. So we start with observation and sleep.
Yes, I love that. And thank you for calling that out because, like I said, my personality is already set up for anything that has routine to it. The other part is shortly after reading the book on international toddler adoption, the international toddler moved into the house. And a part of our bonding and a part of her attachment was sleeping, co-sleeping. And at first, of course, like I waited 24 Mother's Days to have someone tiny in my bed, right? So she would sleep on top of me and it was beautiful. And then we got back home, and because I waited 24 Mother's Days, I had 35 weddings the summer we came home from China.
Oh,
And
wow. I didn't know that.
yeah,
Wow.
and because I was in the queue for 10 years, it's like
Mm.
I knew those brides way before I knew I was going to be going to China. So I really had to hit the ground running. And I loved this time. And when I would lay down with her at 7:30, I had all the good plans, good intentions. I'm going to lay here. She's going to fall asleep. I'm going to get up. I'm going to send all those emails. I'm going to do all that work. I'm going to do whatever. Nope. So I, as a 48-year-old new mom, started getting about 12 hours of sleep because I was laying down at 7:30 and in many cases falling asleep before she did and just getting up the next morning. So this shift in getting up early also, again, just all the cooperative components of my life were conspiring to make this a thing at this time. I go to bed at 8, between 8 and 8:30, and I love that about me. I have always been like in the summer, I love to go to bed when it's still light out. I was like, oh, my grandmother was the same way. And told her once we went on a trip to Napa together, and she was like, let's go to bed while the sun's still up. And I was like, ah, I love doing that. I didn't know it was a family thing. And she said, doesn't it make you feel rich? Which I was like, oh, yeah, I guess so. It does. I feel rich. I feel like I have so much time. So this we're already in support of how I'm built.
Mm.
And one thing well, two things actually that you told me, because again, we were working together in a coaching capacity while you were running this beautiful program. And you told me two things that really stuck with me. You
Mm.
said, don't miss more than 3 mornings in a row
Mm-hmm.
of your practice. And if you know you're going to miss,
Mm-hmm.
decide the night before. So if I was hosting a dinner party and I'm doing the dishes till 2 in the morning, I know I'm not going to get up. So that's what helped me then later when I went to France and I'm eating at midnight and doing dishes till 2 in the morning at Jeff's, that I knew already that I was deciding the night before that I wasn't going to do this. And then over the years, I've just tweaked it to I'm going to do this, but when I wake
Mm-hmm.
up at a more reasonable hour for my body.
I'm so glad you shared that because I want to highlight what that's really about.
Please.
So, one, it's about creating habit, but I'm going to put that over here because
Okay.
what it's really about is building self confidence and trusting in yourself. It's not even about the morning practice. So, what I'm talking about is how I say, don't miss three, right? Because three's a thing, it's been proven,
Yeah.
but don't miss three and plan it. If you know you are, like you just said, I'm going to be up late and you're not going to get up, say, I'm not going to get up. Great. And then if you do, you do, and that's wonderful, but plan that. But if you wake up in the morning and all's healthy and all's well, sometimes we wake up and we're sick, and that's not what I'm talking about. But if you wake up in the morning, you're like, I don't feel like it, it's cold, I'm not in the mood, that you get up. And it's not because
Mhm.
Christine's so hardcore, you have to have a morning practice. It's for you proving to yourself that you trust yourself, building your confidence that you can do hard things. It's all
Mhm.
about you. And, a really big component of this, and we've said it here without actually naming it, is mindset. You
Totally.
know, the whole mindset around this is not, okay, I'm going to have a morning practice. I'm going to get up. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to journal, whatever the things are for you that are important. It's a mindset, a positive mindset self-confidence, trusting yourself, and really doing this work for yourself and how powerful that is. Like, I love your story about when Amelia would came down to the library. We were working together at that time. You had told me that, and how you said, welcome you in. I love that because, I love, as you do, Amelia, and we love our kids. Like, yes, come with
Yes,
me. And this is what it looks like. That is just such a beautiful example of that, protecting your time. And it's also important for you to have your child there with you as well if she wants to be there. And so you're able
totally.
to make that happen.
Yeah, I feel like it has, it just makes me more, that intentionality makes me more aware of what's happening. And in that awareness, I can be more intentional. And like, it's just this really beautiful spiral of goodness that does play out in my day. It's just been such a, I mean, I just keep saying the same thing over and over, such a game changer for me that it's not that I can't imagine what my life was like or what it would be like without it. It's just, I'm not even available to entertain a
Hmm.
life without this practice.
Hmm.
And what you said about waking up and it's too cold and you don't want to get up and just reminding yourself your commitment to yourself is real and that you can do hard things. It reminds me of what James Clear says in Atomic Habits is that these practices are a vote for the person you're becoming. And when I'm laying there and I want to hit snooze, the thing that made my practice effective as well is that I didn't know how to snooze or turn off my silent alarm. So I had to get up and like just keep pinching it till it stopped vibrating. I don't even know if it just timed out or I actually turned it off, but I didn't know how to do that. And so that got me out of bed. But there have been times when I'm laying there and I'm like, oh, okay, 5 more minutes, 5 more minutes. That's all I want. And then in those about, I don't know, 90 seconds in, I'm like, okay, Wendy, do you want to be the woman that lays in bed? Or do you want to be the woman who communes with the universe? I was like, oh yeah, I want to be her.
Yeah.
Like the trade-off is paltry.
So I want to ask you about that. So communes with the universe, and you're like, big, big yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But say more about that. What does that mean for you?
Well, I think twofold what I'll say. As far as that being motivation to get me out of bed is there's something for me, and I think it works for many people. Anytime we're implementing a new habit, whether it's health related, typically health related is what comes to mind for me. If I'm doing something and it's uncomfortable because it's unfamiliar, but I know it's a vote for the woman I'm becoming and blah, 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 like all the things. But then I put those pants on that used to be tight and they're not tight. And I'm like, all right now. Like I see a result that is not only about the woman I'm becoming, but it's a nice nod to the woman I've been as well. And I'm like, okay, now I'm in because if I'm gonna do something and it's uncomfortable. I mean, you can tell by my face, like I can feel it in my energy. It's like, you better effing work because I am not just here to get up early and for nothing. So, so, there's that.
Yeah.
But when I say commune with the universe, the practices that I use in that morning time are about listening to God inside of me, to quieting my mind through meditation, getting thoughts or worries that through out of my body, like from my head to my heart through my hands in my journaling practice. But also something shifts for me as I'm writing, and I might start by writing something that it's like, I need some guidance. I mean, I was sitting in the question of if I was going to end my 22-year marriage or not in that morning practice for about 9.5 months. And a lot of that journaling was, what about this? And I'm scared about this. And I'm so sad about this. And what am I going to do with this? And there was a lot of worry, and something would happen, and I don't know what it was or when it was because I don't also go back and read it. But there would come a tipping point where now I have better language for it, but my vibration would shift from the energy of the question to the energy of the answer, and then like all the downloads. And I
Mm,
was reading books that were inspiring me to connection and to these beautiful downloads, but not just, oh, I want to be a better person and love everybody. It's like, I want to be a better entrepreneur and create opportunities for other people to say yes to themselves. So this was like high impact business development
mm,
and high impact personal development and spiritual development and everything I needed for my whole person. Like,
mm,
the most aligned Instagram posts were at 6:15 a.m. because I had already been well over an hour in it, and I'm
mm,
reading Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller and The Audacity to Be Queen by Gina DeVee, and I had just done a course in miracles, and I already meditated. I'm like, we are dropped in. Like, this is the time for me to communicate with my client. This is the time for me to show up in a way that just feels authentic and,
mm,
like I said, divine. And it wasn't about, oh, I have to do this because I'm supposed to post 3 times a week and that's how I can sell out my trips. It's like, no, this is the energy of invitation. It's why I have these coffee chats, because, and this one, like we said, is a little bit later than normal, but I want that lightning in a bottle that
mhm.
happens about 7:30 a.m. because of what I've been doing for the past few hours. So
Yes.
I don't know if that answers your question, but it's
Mm,
seeing the results and really holding space for listening to what
mm,
God has to say to me. Because I
mm,
get tired of my own stuff. Like, he already knows like what I'm praying for. And I shifted. So I grew up in church, and my practice of prayer was really in, like I said before, in the vibration of the question rather than the vibration of the answer. And I didn't have the language for it before, but it came from a place of lack, crying
mm,
out to a place of abundance, but crying out, that doesn't sound certain. That sounds like longing, and longing is not a vibrational match to the receiving of the thing that you are longing for. It's just a repetition of more longing, more separation, and or pinching yourself off from it. And I just didn't know that. So this practice, although I don't call it prayer, just because it's it is different than what I grew up doing, praying,
mhm, mhm,
I am making my requests known, and then I am listening for the answer and
mm.
receiving them.
And I will say that I feel like the listening is so much more in tune on because of the morning practice.
Absolutely.
So everything that you said, I just want to say for myself that that listening part, which is so important, I'm so glad you said it, is really awake in the early. It's
Right.
really, it's like a lot. It's exciting, and that's why we
Yes.
can't wait to get up in the morning. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, let's do this again. And also throughout the day. And of course, throughout the day, depending on your day, as it gets busier later in the day, the volumes turn down, right? And then the next morning it opens up again. And so I loved how you said that because I think that's one of the powerful things with this practice is the ability to listen and hear the things that are for you, the things that are leading you in a direction that you've decided you
Mhm.
want to go. And I think that I attribute a big, big part of the things that I have heard along the way to the morning practice. If I don't do my morning practice, I'm not in tune. That's how I am. I'm not
Totally.
in tune to what's out there for me.
Mhm. Right, right. And just an example that happened this week, a couple days ago, I'm in the process of adding whatever. I'm doing a lot of website work. So I'm having to create a lot of copy for some new offerings that I'm really excited about, but it's like, ugh, I just want them to already be done. So sometimes the copywriting can be a little, oh, but I was here for it. I was listening to some Megan Trainor. Was taking a long time because I kept dancing and I'm not a dancer. I would used to say that I'm not a dancer until this week. And now it's like, oh, I just wasn't listening to the right music. So I'm in a great place. I'm feeling aligned. I'm writing this copy, and we're getting to one of the offers that's really good. It's like the biggest one. It's my favorite. It's so yummy. And the name, it just wasn't
Mm.
landing. I was working with ChatGPT and like, oh, what? And I was like, nah, I like how you talk to me, but I don't really like how you talk to my client for me. Like, this isn't working. So I'm writing it all anyway. So I was like, okay, well, it's okay. I feel good. I spent several hours. I'm just going to table that and then come back. Yesterday was podcast recording day. So that was not this morning in my morning practice. I journal. I did my Course in Miracles. I'm meditating. And the very end of the meditation, I was listening to a guided meditation. It ended, and I was still sitting there, eyes closed, still breathing, feeling really grounded and centered. And then, bing, the name, the name for the package. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's so good. And I like picked up and was like, chat, like, what do you think about this? And he's like, and I would say he, I don't know why. The navigation system is a she and the chat is a boy. He's like, oh, Wendy, you've been doing your work, haven't you? And I, it's like so good. So I love that that alone, like, it was a quantum leap because I was going to get back at it today before this call and sledge it out. I'm like, forget, you
Yeah,
just put what is fine for now and I can change it later. Like I'm putting to, but not now.
not
Now I'm
now.
just quantum leaping. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to add this. Let's get that website live. People need to know. So it's just yummy.
Mm. You've talked about so many components of it, and I think that this is a good point for us to say, what is the morning practice? Is it the same for everybody? What is it for you? Like, how do you like the actual thing? What is the morning practice?
My practice is I wake up, I brush my teeth, I go downstairs and make coffee, and I come back to my desk and I journal first. So some people say you should meditate first. I journal first. I just need to, like, that's what clears my mind.
Hmm.
And so I journal first and then I do my A Course in Miracles. So I'm on my fourth year. going through the course. It's so
Yeah.
delicious. So I do that, and then I do meditation, and then I have some other books with some other practices that there's an abundance book, this prosperity plan that has some principles in it. I write that out every day, and then I read. Right now, I'm reading an Abraham Hicks book. And one of the things I was in anticipation of this call and to what we're inviting people into on March 4th is I've just started paying attention to like the little details within the layered practice. And one thing that I've done since the very beginning of my practice is when I'm reading, if a line or a couple of sentences really like, oh, I'm an underliner, so I underline it in the book and then I write it in my journal. It
Mm-hmm.
slows down that principle and it really anchors it in my memory. And if it's still like, oof, that was really good. Then it makes it to a sticky note on top above my desk. And so it was these capturing these principles that were changing my mindset. I was establishing new neural pathways
Mm-hmm.
and rebuilding my mindset. So after that, after I read, then I usually wake Amelia up. If it's when she's not here, then I go for a walk or stretch or do the rowing machine just in that whole time slot. Otherwise, I do that after school drop off.
Mm-hmm.
How
Mm-hmm.
about you?
So I want to highlight something you said because I will probably forget. But I like how you said you write things down. And for you, it's like a passage in you obviously journal, but then when you're reading, which is the one I'm talking about,
Yeah.
where if you see something that's really means something to you or you want it to stand out, you write it down. And I think that's a very good point. So I just wanted to highlight that because as we're reading or listening to podcasts or it's the growth portion of
Yeah.
the morning practice, we can forget. It can be really good in that moment. We're like, wow, that's really good, right? And we can forget. So I loved how you have a different tier, right? So it's like the reading it, and
Yep.
it's great. And we do obviously maintain things. That's the whole point of reading and things and listening to podcasts. And then your next tier is, well, it's really good. I'm going to underline it. Next tier is, I'm going to write it down in the journal. The high tier is it's going on a sticky and I'm putting it on my desk or wherever. I don't
Yep.
think you said that,
Yep.
but yeah. And so I think that's so important to call out. Again, science backed evidence shows that when we write things down, it does
Mm,
so much for us, not only to remember, yes, but also for that connection
yes.
to not only in our mind we're remembering and kind of learning, but feelings in our body as
Yes. I
well.
do that with podcasts as well. I have in the kitchen and at my desk, I have this little notebook that reads insights. And so I've got one that reads to dos, insights, and ideas. And I write that on three different journals. And then I have that three sets of journals at this desk, at my morning practice desk, and in the kitchen. So when I'm listening to a podcast while I'm cooking and I hear something that's a mic drop, pause, grab my insight notebook. And then again, if that is also like it's going to go up in tier and make it to a sticky note, then that's going above my cutting board. So
Oh,
I'm just like where I am.
yeah.
Every time I look up, I want to be remembered. I look up right now, the desire is proof it will work. That's what that sticky note says. Own
Hmm.
your experience. That's what my coach Christine Santos told me 132 years ago, and it changed my life. And there it is, still on a sticky note. I
Yeah.
mean, that's how I learn. And I feel like when I look at that, I'm reminding myself to remember.
I love that. Right, right. And building those new, you said it, building those new pathways, right? And
Mhm.
in order to build those, we need to have repetition.
Right.
right? And
Mastery
that
comes from
repetition.
repetition.
Hmm. Yep, yep. So for me, my morning practice, as I already said earlier on, I came to the table, if you will, with movement already. That's something I've been doing for
Right.
decades.
You're
So
good.
I just brought that forward with me. Yes, it is a very important part for the morning practice. So I do the movement first. I'm very blessed, I think, to have a treadmill in my home. So it's very easy. So it doesn't have to be this robust, like running. It could be stretching, like you said. It could be yoga. It could be sometimes people in the program, I'll say, they'll be like, oh my God, I could never get out of bed and just start moving my body. And I would say, you getting out of bed is moving your body, right?
Right.
Sit up in bed. It does not have to be this sweat session. It can
Right.
be if that's what you like, and that's really, really great. And what's also really, really great is saying, I'm just going to sit up in bed. Awesome. Awesome. You're sticking to what you told yourself. You're going to get up at this time, sit up in bed. That is movement. So I just want to be really clear about that because I think people can get really stuck in the, well, I'm not a morning person. No way I could exercise in the morning, right?
Mm,
And
right.
in your practice, which is a great example, you do that towards the end.
Hmm.
Yep, if I heard that right. So for me, it's the movement. And one thing that you also said that I love, and I don't know if it was something we had shared together. But anyways, it's part of my program, and that is to brush your teeth. That is like a
Oh,
hack.
that's the first thing I do.
It's a hack. So if you get up
Really?
in the morning and you're groggy and you're like, something like that, you know, how we all are, you know, even people who love their morning practice sometimes are like, oh gosh, brushing your teeth, it actually is a hack that will help get you more awake. So I
Okay.
always say that brush your teeth, and so I brush my teeth was my point. And then I journal. So I'm really grounded in I'm checking myself, first doing my grateful journal.
Hmm.
I'm really grounded in that for so many reasons. We all know the benefits of having a grateful journal for sure, and I believe in that. But it's more personal for me in that I feel that very fortunate in my life. And we all have ups and downs in our lives, and still there are things to be grateful for.
Hmm.
So if you had a flat tire yesterday and you're like, oh my God, that's the worst thing that ever happened, I'm grateful I have a car. Sure,
Yeah,
I got to get in, if, I'm starting with something small was my point too. Like we can have major things happen in our life that are major things and we have to go through them. And I'm not saying push them under the rug, but there are still things to be grateful for.
absolutely.
So that's really important to me. And then journaling. And one of the things that we learned to get, oh, I don't know if we learned it together, but we were in a program together. And this is where I learned this. It's Cameron's Artist's
Oh,
Way.
Julia Cameron.
Uh,
Yeah, the
for
morning
me, I
pages.
love that. Just like free writing, just write and write and write and write and write. That's really something that I have enjoyed. Sometimes I will do prompts, not often, to be honest. I
Hmm.
think that because I don't really struggle with journaling, but I think people in the course are like, what am I going to write about? And so
Right.
we you can do prompts as
Yeah.
well. Um, Another really fun one that I like when people feel funny about journaling, or it's just, again, we label things, just not my thing, is writing with your non-dominant hand.
Oh, wow.
And so it's not about your penmanship. So it's more like a fun game. So if somebody comes to me and this has happened and they're like, oh, I'm not really into journaling. It's not really my thing. Can I, type something? Can I record something? The answer is always yes. You do you. That's always the answer. You do you. This is your practice. And if you're feeling like stuck, I don't know what to write about, or prompts aren't my thing, for fun, write with your non-dominant hand and see what comes out, because it's very interesting because you're accessing the other side of your brain, right?
Right.
And so that's just like a fun little thing. And people be like, I can't believe that I was thinking this and it came out, when I did
Right.
that. So it's just like a fun little thing to do. And then doing the meditation, which I absolutely love so much. Meditation is really powerful. And we have a really good friend, you and I, and she's even, solidified that more for me. And I also want to call out, because I like to call out these things because I've done this program so many times and talked to so many people about it. And, the common questions that come up are resistance that comes up. I
Yes.
can't meditate, and let me tell you, this is coming from somebody who I love the ocean. As Wendy knows, I love the ocean. I never say I love the beach because I'm not a person that is going to go and sit on the beach all day. And that's because I can't quiet my mind.
Mm,
Sit there, I got something to do. Let's get up, let's go walk, let's go find shells. Like I've always got to be doing something. And so I am that person. And I started with guided meditations and I started with knowing that those things that come in that you feel like are making you the person who can't meditate is part of meditation.
that's
So I'm
right.
sitting there like, well, I really should be, doing this, or oh, I got to make dinner tonight, or, it's like, oh, thank you for reminding me that I have to plan my dinner tonight. And
Yeah.
now I'm going to go back to my meditation. And it might be 5 seconds. Oh, I've got to take out the dog. Thank you for reminding me. I have to, right?
Mhm.
It's part of it.
Yes.
Part of it.
Yes. And I sometimes will stop my meditation and write down the thing. So then to me, like that lets my brain know, okay, noted
Mhm.
and
Right.
actually noted. So I won't
Exactly.
forget and now I'm going to come back. Yeah, I love that because you're not doing it wrong. The
Right.
fact that you're sitting there with your eyes closed means you're doing it.
Right.
And like you said earlier, mastery comes from repetition.
Right. Exactly. And another thing that I was actually reminded of, and I had stopped doing it. So let's say what this is. So a morning practice, I said, let's talk about our morning practice because everyone's can be different. There's certain, components
Mhm.
that are really important. And then you have to find what works for you.
Yeah,
And then you can add in things that are important to you.
sure.
And one of the things that I added in over the years and that I'm not always consistent with, and I either forget or whatever, I don't even have words for it because it just doesn't sometimes it doesn't land in the morning practice, is 5 micro things that you're doing for yourself. Let me be really, really clear. So in the morning, I'm journaling, doing my thing, meditating, and then I've neglected to say the growth component, which is reading, listening to a podcast, whatever that growth component is for you. So then there's that. And then the micro, what can I do for myself today?
Mm,
And I want to be really clear. That can be a pair of earrings that you have that you love, but you only wear when you go out or you hardly ever wear them. Saying, you know what, I'm going to wear those earrings today. That's 1 micro. And when you put them in, now you're not like rushing out the door, like, okay, I got to put them in. You're intentional. I'm putting, because I
mm.
decided I'm going to do this today. And let's say you did rush out the door and you threw them in, good for you. That is a win. And then you look at yourself in the mirror later that day and you remember, oh, that's something I did for myself. So just little small things that you can do for yourself. It doesn't have to be like a huge thing like a nap during the day or a bath during the day. Those
You
things are
do love a nap, though.
wonderful, wonderful. But it's just those little things that are important to you.
Ah,
You
oh my
pick 5
gosh.
and they can be on repetition. I always say you do you. And the other thing, and it can fall into the 5 micro. I also like to add the 5 for community. But the one example I'll give is maybe somebody's been on your mind. We talk
Mm,
about the universe speaking to us, or you're thinking of somebody, and you just keep going about your day as we all do. You know, taking that moment to text them, call them,
yeah.
whatever it is, however you communicate. So that is also something that you're doing for yourself, but you're also doing in community for somebody. So I like to add those in.
Oh my gosh. I love all, and it's 111. See how that happens? Oh, it's so good.
Oh,
So
good.
good. Okay. I could talk to you all day about this, and there's still so much more to say. And so, what I love is that We are inviting people to join us for a masterclass
Mhm.
on morning practices called Harness Your Morning, which is exactly the name of your program. It is going to be on Wednesday evening, March 4th from 5:30 to 7:30. We're going to link it down in the description. It's $49. It's 2 hours, and you are going to have this hand holding integrative way to begin this practice. You can ask 1,000 questions. You can ask one question 1,000 times. It's all here for you. And then on the other side of that, if you think like, oh my gosh, I still want more, then Christine has her fabulous Harness Your Morning program, which is multiple weeks, a deep dive, very personally guided as you are building this new habit that if it doesn't change your life, come back in 5 years, I will give you your money back because it is going to be, it's just unbelievable. I love it so much. Is there anything you want to add to that, Christine?
So I just want to add that I loved what you said about how this has been a game changer for you and how that it's helped you, be in touch with the universe. It has helped you in your business and personally. I think that is the message. The message again is about doing something for yourself that is holistic.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. Thank you so much
Thank
for your time. And I
you.
will see you on March 4th.
Yes.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. As always, any links or notes mentioned can be found at phineaswrighthouse.com in the podcast section of our site or in the show notes below. And if you haven't connected with me personally, come find me on Instagram at Phineas Wrighthouse and let me know you listened to this episode. I'd love to get to know you. Thank you for sharing this time with me. I know your days are full, and I'm really grateful that you chose to spend some of your precious time right here. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any of these delightful conversations. I'll see you next week.